Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mer Herosner podcast, episode 15. I'm your host, Vic and Mike, and as always, I'm joined by my extremely talented co-host, Mike Balyan, where we discuss our great Armenian history, covering different people, eras, and topics. How are you, Mike?
Fantastic. That was a very vibrant entrance by you.
It was?
Yeah.
It's the cognac.
Is it?
Yeah. Switch back to Ararat. Well, we're kind of out of Salte. That's why I think.
That's fine. Yeah.
Today's topic will be Kingdom of Hayasa. We were last episode we were talking about which one, and from the research and everything we did, I think this was the right one to as far as chronological order goes.
Yeah, we're going in chronological order.
Yeah. It's Thursday, November 18th, and we have some exciting events lined up. We want to kind of mention those first before we start talking about the main topic. First, it's confirmed, and we will be live on the Wise Nuts podcast, which is on YouTube, this coming Monday, which is November 22nd, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time. So mark your calendar, and you should go and search for Wise Nuts podcast on YouTube. Hit that subscriber and bell button so that way you're reminded when they go live, and you'll get to see our mugs live on YouTube.
It's like these poor people have to listen to us talk once a week anyway. Now they have to listen to us talk live on someone else's show.
You know, I gotta say, from all the feedback we get, people like our voices. So I don't know what your problem is, man. I think I sound sexy.
Positivity through negativity.
Oh, okay, sure.
You know?
Let's go with that. Speaking of the Wise Nuts, today is Arno's birthday, and I want to wish him a happy birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah. So, we'll obviously wish him live on the show, but, we got to do our part. Arno's a great friend and to the show and on our personal lives. So, Arno Jan, cheers to you.
Happy birthday, fellow Scorpio buddy.
Wishing you all the health in the world and a long, prosperous life with your beautiful family. Speaking of live, we are going to be live on YouTube with our show on December 9th. And we are going to be talking about the history of Armenian rugs with Haraç Kozibeyokyan, who is the president of the Armenian Rug Society. And he himself is actually a rug maker or weaver.
Yeah,
the terminology.
He's like a genius with that stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be an amazing show. We got to meet him on a couple of days ago, right?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, and wow, it was such a amazing and surreal experience. I think the what he told us about everything when we're going to be talking about this stuff on the show.
Yeah, without giving too much away, literally linking our heritage, our history to rug making.
Yeah.
And beyond refute, it's true. It's going to blow your minds, guys, just like it did mine and Vic's. It was unbelievable talking to him and hearing his story we were supposed to just go for like an hour.
4 hours.
Meet and greet. Yeah, we were there for 4 hours.
Meet and greet? No, it was more like... it was another podcast session
we walked out of there feeling like family.
Yeah, and we're so excited to present him. And again, so go on YouTube, search for Mer Herosner podcast, hit that subscribe button, and then hit that notification bell so that way when we go live, you will get notified and join us. And to all the East Coast people, we know it's going to be a little bit late, but if you can join us, it'd be great. Again, this will be 7 p.m. December 9th, 7 p.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time.
We got a lot of messages about that after the post today.
Yeah. And we got a lot of fan mail.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you to everybody who's reaching out to us through Instagram, through Facebook, and through the email, which is pod@merherosner.com. So we got an email from Avo Wairyan, who lives in Ottawa, Canada. Just kind of, telling us how much he likes the show. And he was telling us that his colleague actually found the podcast who's non-Armenian and is listening to us and told him about us. So he started listening to us. And he usually listens to, I guess he's a a cook as well. So he usually listens to us while he's making dinner, and he was talking about the last episode, how he was making some amazing dolma and for his family.
We're going to take you up on that, bud. If we ever come to Ottawa, we want that dolma. Yeah,
and he asked us some interesting questions, which unfortunately we couldn't answer right away, and sparked interest for us to do some research. So, Avo, we're gonna definitely respond to you with those answers. There's some stuff that we definitely need to talk to some of our historian friends. That's pretty much it as far as the announcements. So today's topic again is Kingdom of Hayasa, and the research we did basically, the problem, and this is a conversation I was having with Gevorg, that because of where Hayasa was located, unfortunately we have no access, so there isn't much being, as far as archaeologists, being able to dig anything to find more information. Most of the, I guess you can say, information we have is through the
other sources,
mostly the Hittite Kingdom and Sumerians, so forth. So the research that we did, some of the writings are going to be from Elizabeth Bauer, who's an author, and she actually wrote a book called The Armenia, Past and Present. This was published in 1981, actually.
Yeah.
It's still available on Amazon. I looked it up. So if you guys are interested, go get that book. So Elizabeth begins with, and this is what we're going to read and discuss. This is kind of some small sections from her book. Obviously, we can't talk about the whole book. So she talks about, in the 1920s, Hittite inscriptions were deciphered by the Swiss scholar Emil Forer, Hugo Winkler, who's a German archaeologist and historian, and Bedřich Hrozný, and I hope I got that right, who was a Czech Orientalist and linguist, which testify to the existence of a mountain country, the Hayasa, lying around the Lake Van in the Armenian Highlands. The suffix sa from Hayasa corresponds to stan, derivative of Hayastan, which translates to Armenia. Greeks knew about this great country called Hayasa, and their writers wrote about the Armenians, or the Hayas. The Armenian people obtained their self-designative name Hay from the deity Hay, or Haya, whom they regarded as the creator of the cosmos. According to several scholars, the name Hay, or Haya, comes from the primordial root name of Ai, or Aya, which goes back all the way to the Neolithic era and early worship of Mother Goddess that also gave her name to later god Haya. The god Haya Ea was also worshipped through Mesopotamia. The earliest surviving inscriptions that mention Haya, the god of wisdom and the god of cosmic waters, are found in the Sumerian inscriptions dated to 2800 BCE. The god Ehaya was also later worshipped by the Akkadians, who knew him under the name of Enki.
2800 BC, right? I mean, some of these dates that we talk about with any of the kingdoms or whatever we've been discussing, especially over the last 2 episodes. I mean, for me, it still baffles my mind that we've got this much written history from inscriptions, even from other sources.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is nothing from our sources. This is all from
these aren't from Armenian sources.
Yeah, this is from Greeks, Sumerians, the Hittites, so forth. And, it's unfortunate that we don't have anything from our end.
Well, I mean, it sheds light on, Moses Khorenatsi and some of his writings.
Yeah.
Right. I know we're going to mention him just for a quick second as we move along here, but you have to really understand that it paints a broader picture. If we do talk about Moses Khorenatsi, we're starting to understand where he may have gotten his information from.
Yeah.
At the time.
And
right?
we're gonna do an episode
absolutely.
about him.
But it wasn't like he just sat there and made this stuff up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was obviously gathering information from a various amount of sources from that area.
Yeah.
And it's starting to become more and more apparent. It's kind of cool to understand.
Yeah.
Talking about inscriptions, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
The Eblaik, if that's the way I pronounce it, inscriptions dated back to 2600 BC. This was somewhere in this was like an ancient city in Syria.
Yeah.
Mentioned both a deity and a people by the name of Hay, Hay, who lived in the Armenian Highlands. The name Hay was also used by the Hittites to refer to Armenia and the Armenian people. The Hittite inscriptions from around 1500 BC record the history of the Kingdom of Hayasa, with the root word Haya and the Hittite ending of Sa, connoting a place situated in Armenian Highlands.
Yeah.
The name Hay also lived on in the name Haik, the traditional patriarch of the Armenian people, as recorded by a number of medieval historians.
We've talked about Haik obviously many times, and
when we were looking into this, the fact that during medieval times, I'm sure the people who were doing this research were noblemen.
Yeah.
I mean, what we understand about the medieval era was you really didn't have an educational class, right?
Yeah.
The people that were, I guess I want to call them like nobility, maybe, clergymen, monks, these type of people were the ones that knew how to read and write prominently. That this is what we know with the known history. So the fact that these people, I guess you can't call them scholars, but the more educated people of that time were talking and, researching this topic for that specific region is very fascinating to me. Anyway, moving along. Sorry, I just went off on a little bit of a tangent.
No, you're fine.
Haik was regarded by the Armenian people as the divine offspring of the primordial god of essence, Haya. Father of Armenian history, Moses Khorenatsi, as we were mentioning earlier, narrates the story of Japheth's grandson Haik and his descendants, the Hays, Hays, as Armenians call themselves pretty much these days. Yeah. Haik is the nominative plural in classical Armenian of Hay and is also a popular Armenian name, as we all know. The native Armenian name of the country is Haik. The name in the Middle Ages was extended to Hayastan by addition of the Indo-European suffix stan, which means land. Yeah. We all know that with a bunch of the countries in the region.
Yeah, and even in Armenian, like for example, Parskastan,
Yeah. So. I mean, I don't want to keep mentioning them, but the Turks use it. Everybody in that area uses, stan as a suffix to said people. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, so on and so forth.
Right? In almost every language in that region.
Yeah. Well, except English.
Of course.
There was also a Bronze Age tribe of the Armens, which we have talked about on numerous occasions. The Armens, the Armani, Armenian, Armener, either identical to forming a subset of the Hayasasi. In this case, Armenia would be an ethnonym, which means a name of an ethnic group, rather than a toponym, which means a name of a place.
Yeah. Now, I want to also mention that professor and author Anne Elizabeth Redgate, she wrote a book I think it was published in 1999. It was called The Armenians. And I quote, "The name Haik is from the earliest record identified with Armenians from Sumerian inscriptions around 2700 BC, in which the Armenians are referred to as the sons of Haya, after the regional god of the Armenian Highlands." I mean, there's so many different writers, historians. It's constantly coming back to the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same time periods. There's a lot of it seems like there's like a cluster, and that's the lack for a better term. That's the word I want to use for a certain time area or time era. Sorry, talking about what 2500 to 3500 BC, where you see a lot more prominent information coming about as to who the people were that were occupying those lands. Yeah. Right. It's not like we just showed up at that time.
Yeah. And when we continue reading, you're gonna hear that the Hayasa, it's constantly mentioned over and
that
over.
That was the way people referred to the people of that land. The people of Ar, the people of Ur, right? The Sumerian way of saying it.
Yeah.
As we've discussed in the past, this is just the way people referred to us, and this is all in inscriptions.
Of course, yeah.
So that's why we keep mentioning this over and over again.
Yeah. Now we're gonna start talking about the development of the Armenian statehood, which is, it's what we call Kingdom of Hayasa. Now, what we're going to read and discuss from here is actually written by historian Robert Ghazaryan, who is part of the National Academy of Sciences of Armenia. And this article was actually that he wrote. He originally wrote in Armenian. It was translated by Susanna Charkayan. So we want to definitely give the mention to them. Robert wrote, the development of the statehood in the Armenian Highlands started in the 3rd millennium BC, and in the next millennium, one of its manifestations was the state of Hayasa. During the Bronze Age, the western part of Armenia entered into active economic, political, and cultural relations with the countries of Asia Minor and Mesopotamia. This contributed much to the formation of the state units, Hayasa Azzi, Isuwa, which is Tzopk, and Azzi, which is Arznik. Starting from the first half of the 14th century BC, the Hittite cuneiform sources inform us about the state of the Hayasa Azzi in the territory of the Armenian highland. As the name Hayasa, known since the 3rd millennium BC, as well as in the toponym Hayasa, with the Hittite toponymic suffix asa, the root is the endonym, self-name of the Armenians, Hay. The first record of the Hayasa is found from the period of the reign of the Hittite king Tudaliya III, who ruled from 1360 to 1344 BC. In a relatively short period of time, this state displayed a great vitality by playing an important role in the region's political life. Political unrest in the east and northeast, which started before the reign of the Hittite king Suppiluliuma I, who reigned from 1344 to 1322 BC, who was actually Tudaliya's son, continued to preoccupy his successors.
We talked about Suppiluliuma last episode.
That's a mouthful, huh?
It is. It's a very complex name.
Yeah. He was actually a pretty, powerful king.
Yes. I mean
for the Hittites.
If he's mentioned this many times, look, the Hittites are the Hittites, but he's been mentioned this many times. He's got to be a pretty prominent figure.
Well, as we continue, we're going to find out more about him.
Yeah. Hittite texts such as the Annals of Mursili II, who ruled from 1321 to 1295 BC, tell us of rather frequent armed conflicts in the east, including armed incursions against the towns of the Hittite upper land from the direction of Hayasasi. After the Hayasian troops invaded the Hittite upper land, these place names are identical. In Hittite sources, both names are used referring to the same country, Hayasa and Azzi.
Yeah.
In Armenian historiography, the first researcher of the history of Hayasa was Nishon Martirosyan, who believed that this toponym had a connection with the self-designation of the Armenians. A great contribution to the study of the history, language, and culture of Hayasa was made by Grigor Kapansyan. I hope I said that correctly. At this time, Tudaliya III chose the city of Samuha in the Upper Land as a temporary home for the Hittite royal court. This town was an important cult center located at the upper course of the Marasantia, or Halis River. King Tudaliya III began his march to the east to stop the invasion. Near the town of Kumaha, Ani Khamach in the Armenian sources on the bank of the river Euphrates, the Hittite army met Hayasian troops led by the king of Hayasa, Karani.
I was trying to find more information about Karani, but wasn't really much about it.
No, there's a lot of the information about this time period is really just bang on, without too much.
Yeah, it's just names like this was the king, and he did this.
And exactly. Yeah. If you look into any of the names whatsoever, Suppiluliuma,
Yeah.
or what's his name? The Hittite king, as we just mentioned a minute ago,
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
There's him.
Sure.
There really isn't much information.
Yeah.
Like
You know-
we can't even expand on like, okay, this guy did this or this guy did that, whatever. All we're doing is literally going through this information that we've been told with these
What's
articles.
funny is, if you go further into the future, as far as from BC to let's say AD, a lot of the kings after that, and leaders, warriors, they wrote about their events. They so that's why we have more information. Here's the thing: I was curious and I was trying to find out. Now, is it that maybe they did write, but it was destroyed or just can't find it? Because as a king, the number one thing is just human nature. When you conquer something,
it's a part of your ego.
Yeah, you're gonna write down what you did and what you conquered, and
of course,
this and that. So I believe, again, this is just my opinion, that I think if it hasn't been destroyed, it's somewhere buried in where Hayasa Azzi was,
either buried or destroyed over time. It has to be. And then this is kind of what we've learned about things, unless they were on massive granite blocks and obelisks like the Egyptians had, that stood the test of time, right? It's very difficult to find. I mean, who knows what they were writing on or inscribing on, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, mind you, back then, obviously, there wasn't really writing. It was more cuneiform. So,
they were chiseling into stone.
But I don't think it was that easy as far as, if you're talking about where there was already alphabet and stuff, somebody sitting there and writing about their event versus somebody chiseling what they conquered in cuneiform.
I don't know, man. If I was a powerful king, I'd like halfway down my bottle of wine, I'm ordering my scribes to write down and document, tell everybody that I am going to rule the world. Yeah. This is literally what's happening. I mean, this has probably gone on for millennia.
Yeah. Well, during the reign of Suppiluliuma I, a new era of strengthening the Hittite Empire began. Before starting military operations in the south against Mitanni and Egypt, the king of Hatti decided to secure the rear of his state from the side of the Armenian highland. This is something that, I read over this a few times, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Gevork about this because it was already late. He's in Armenia, so our hours, he's sleeping, we're working, vice versa.
Yeah,
yeah. So, Mitanni was before. So what I wanted to find out, which I'm going to ask him, is if you're talking about the Hayasa kingdom joining forces with, the Hittite kingdom to attack Mitanni, which Mitanni was actually an Armenian kingdom. So there was some kind of division.
Well, here's a refresher. And I'm not saying this to make you sound like you don't remember, but how many times let's reference Tigran the Great episode and his story. He brought all those different Armenian, not tribes, but those provinces together.
Yeah.
That was the thing he achieved.
But Tigran was way after.
But it's something to think about because we obviously occupied that land in a within a vast range. But it's obvious that there were different groups of Armenians and different types of, I guess, call it Armenians, who just kind of clumped together, had their own provinces, had reign over a certain area of whatever they had reign over.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the division, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to what we know about the city-state wars with, let's say, which is more prominent in history that we've learned in textbooks and whatnot, of Renaissance era Italy, right? You had city-states, like you had the Milanese warring with the Genoese and whatnot.
Internal, so, even though they were all Italian.
Yeah, they were all Italians. Yeah. They all spoke the same language, but they were different because they lived in different areas, right? Yeah. And they lived within their city-states. It feels like it's kind of the same thing, but they were all Armenians,
I guess,
or some form of Armenian. More or less. Yeah, more or less.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, according to the annals of Suppiluliuma I, Hittite forces began military actions in Isuwa. They entered the country of Tsukapa. Then they invaded Hayasa near the mountains of Laha. Following these events, a treaty was signed between Hatti and Hayasa. The contract mentions ruler Hukana from the Hayasa side. So again, another ruler, Hukana. I'm assuming this was after Karini? Is that the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Karani.
Karana. I guess the name Karen or Garine.
You know, I thought the same thing.
Maybe it's derived from there.
Maybe.
My brother's name is Karen, so maybe...
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So one of the main goals in the treaty for Supaliluma was to secure the eastern borders of Hatti. For this purpose, he even gave his sister, the Hittite princess, in marriage to Hukana. Both sides pledged to help each other in case of war against the third state.
More Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah. Here above all, they basically meant the state of Mitanni, against whom war was planned. So, if the Hittite princess married Hukana and Hukana was Armenian, obviously this mixing started back then. So,
it was obviously it's a common practice.
It's a common practice. So
absolutely.
If you think about it, there's so many variations of Armenians now. When we talk about a melting pot, that's what it was happening back then.
Yeah.
And in the nobles, you're talking about royalty here.
Yes.
So, his kids, obviously we don't have any information, but his kids, that means his kids were half Armenian, half Hittite. So it just continues. There is a Hittite oracle text which states that the king of Hatti, Supaliluma I, wished to... Can I just say soup from now on? Because that is a mouthful.
King Soup?
King Soup. That's what I'm saying. Man,
yeah,
wow.
it's a difficult word. I can't believe I didn't stumble that last episode. Yeah. But yeah.
So from now I'm calling him Soup. Okay. So wished to predict Hukana's loyalty to the signed contract. It is interesting that in this text, Hukana is referred to as the ruler of the country of Azzi, which he's called the treaty which was the ruler of Hayasa. After Soup's, no, that doesn't sound right. Yeah.
After King Soup.
After King Soup, after Supaliluma launched a campaign to Syria and northern Mesopotamia. So, yeah, there you go.
King Soup was the man, I guess, right?
I apologize. I don't mean to disrespect. Such a full man. That's a long name.
There's a lot of names, ladies and gentlemen, that sometimes we encounter that are very, very, very tongue twisting to read or even understand and comprehend, no matter how many times you repeat this, because obviously it was their language. It's probably easy for them, but it's definitely not easy for us.
So going back to it, right there, it was just about the treaty and with the Hayasa king, with Supaliluma basically joining forces to launch a campaign against Syria.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, so. Like Syrians were the not very good people in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of King Soup,
we're gonna get hate mail from the Assyrians.
There's probably somebody in his lineage from like thousands of years ago or whatever the case is, write to us. And sorry, we're really sorry, but it's really difficult to pronounce. But I'm gonna do my best.
Yeah.
After the death of King Supaliluma I and Arnuwanda II, which was between 1322 to 1321 BC, very short period, from the plague that struck Hatti, young and energetic Mursili II, that's who we were talking about, ascended to the throne. This was 1321 to 1295 BC.
Yeah. That's the thing. What plague? They didn't mention.
God, I mean, at this point, with the current state of the world, it's like there's so many plagues that have happened that we've learned about, throughout our known timeline.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no vaccines back then.
Well, there's plenty of reasons to think that people lived off the land however
Natural
they did.
Immunity.
And well, no. There could have been certain things that may have happened with human biology, if you will.
Yeah.
Mursili II, he started to fight against those countries that threatened the territorial integrity of Hatti. Hayasasi is mentioned as one of those countries. After solving the problem with the country's Kaska, which was an area east of the Pontic Mountains, we've talked about the Pontic, western part of Turkey, and Arzawa, western part of Asia Minor again, Mursili II planned to neutralize the Hayasian threat. The Hittite upper land must mainly be located somewhere between the upper Halis Valley and the Iris and Gael River valleys in the northeastern part of Hadi. This sounds like it's somewhere, again, the northern part of Mesopotamia.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You're talking about with Supililuma.
See, you said it right.
Yeah, there you go. Supililuma. There was the treaty with the Hayasa, with the Hayasa kingdom, and everything was fine. And then unfortunately, he dies, and then this new kid on the block comes,
Mursili
and all of a
II.
sudden we're a threat again.
Well, look, I don't know. I'm just making an assumption at this point. Maybe he grew up with a chip on his shoulder about the Hayasians.
Yeah, scorn from a beautiful Hayasa girl,
and then at some point you grow up and now you're on the throne. It's like, I will take on the Hayasians.
Yeah,
maybe not in that voice, but whatever. You get the point. The land of the Hayasasi was situated to the east of the upper land, a state in the region of the upper Euphrates and Tigris. Like I mentioned, it's we're going a little further north than the Fertile Crescent as we've known.
Yeah.
In the southwestern part of Armenian Highland. Mursili II sent a letter to the king of Hayasasi, Ania, requiring him to return the Hittite fugitives who were in Hayasasi. Ania refused to comply with these demands.
Well, here's the thing. We're already talking about a king change in Hayasa as well, because now we're talking about Ania. So,
now, are you suggesting that they had some sort of personal vendetta?
Well, yeah, if Supililuma passed away, and then we had our king Hukana, obviously he was no more in reign. I don't know if he passed or something else happened. Now you have Ania that's in power, so maybe there was some kind of a dispute between them, or also if you think about it, when younger kings like the sons take over, there's always that who's got the bigger
your cojones. Yeah, we've already talked about how many egotistical sons we've encountered. I mean, who knows, maybe this guy had, again, he might have had a chip on his shoulder, whatever the case is.
But I just wanted to clarify that we did have a change of kings at this point.
As a result, the Hittite forces attacked the Hayasian border town of Ura, but they apparently failed to take the city. According to Mursili, in the 9th year of his reign, Hayasian troops began hostilities against the Hittites in their lands. The Hayasian army conquered the Hittite country Istitina and began the siege of the Kanuwara city. The Hittite army came to the rescue of the people of Kanuwara. Around the city, a battle took place in which Hayasian army, with its 10,000 infantrymen and 700 chariots, this is insane. 700 chariots?
Yeah.
That's a lot of chariots, man.
Yeah, I know. Can you visualize that?
That's a lot of chariots.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't care who says what. That's a lot. That's like seeing 700 tanks come at you. They were forced to retreat because of these forces.
Think about it. That's a huge force to have an army of 10,000 and then 700 chariots to retreat.
I'm going to say it again. 700. Just visualize 700 chariots at the time.
Yeah.
Coming at you.
Can you imagine what kind of power was coming at them?
Yeah. I don't care what anyone, like now we might scoff at it. Yeah. Because, okay, chariots, who cares? We've got tanks. No. But think about back then.
Yeah, of course.
Chariots, 700 of them.
Yeah.
In the 10th year of his reign, Mursili II marched into the country of Hayasa. During the campaign, Hayasian troops were attempting to attack the Hittite army at night, but with no success. Interesting tactic.
Yeah.
The Hittites reached the shores of Lake Van, where they occupied the city of Aripsa. Almost sounds like Haripsime, doesn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
Beautiful name, by the way.
Of course. After that, another Hayasian fortified city, Dugama, surrendered. The next year, Mursili II again moved his troops into Hayasasi. This guy had a chip on his shoulder.
No, he had a thing for the Hayasa. That's what it was.
Yeah, he really does. Where's Mithridates when you meet him?
Time travel.
I love that guy. Yeah. Hayasians started negotiations with the Hittite king and agreed to return the Hittite fugitives. They gave in. In fact, Hayasians returned to the Hukana's treaty,
There you go.
There it is. There's no information about the military clashes between Hatti and Hayasa after Mursili II during the reign of his successors.
Yeah.
There are several inventory and oracle Hittite texts in which the country of Azzi is mentioned. Apparently, it was a time of peaceful relations between the two countries. Chronologically, the latest information about Hayasa Azzi is given in the text of Tudalia IV, which was around 1237 to 1209 BC. It says that several countries, Azzi, Luka, and Kaska, are hostile to the country of Hadi, and Hittite governors of the Hittite border areas should be on alert.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Warning.
Well, I mean, this part is a little bit, so we're talking about, having this entire peaceful time, and then again back to the same.
It kind of sounds like posturing, though, right? It almost sounds like you have, well, you do this and I'll do this, but I'm still gonna sleep with one eye open.
Yeah, well, that's after they signed the peace treaty, or return to the Ukana's treaty.
Yeah, but nonetheless, this guy Mursili II had definitely was.
I'm telling you, man, scorned by a beautiful Hayasi girl. Or woman,
sure, we could go with that. That's a good story. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I can see the movie happening.
Yeah, Mursili II, scorned.
Yeah. Scorned.
I like it.
And takes revenge. So after the collapse of the Hittite Empire, the toponym Hayasa or Azzi is not mentioned in the chronicles. Most probably the United Hayasian kingdom broke up into smaller state formations that are mentioned in Assyrian sources of the 12th to 11th century BC as the countries of Nairi.
There it is.
So, and I'm going to quickly just sideway from here to talk about the next episode. We were going to do the Nairi Confederation, but there isn't much information about it.
No.
There's just, we know about it. But here's the thing. Nairi also ties into Urartu.
Of course it does.
So and we talked about Urartu, and we mentioned Nairi in Urartu.
Yes,
so that's one of the reasons why the following episode that we do before the live is going to be the Orontid dynasty. Orontid dynasty. Just wanted to mention that. According to Hittite sources, the state of Hayasa was located to the east of Hatti. It bordered on the Hatti Upper Land and the countries of Kaska and Isuwa. One of the cities, Aripsa, or let's call it Aripsime.
I'm telling you, dude, it sounds so familiar.
Of Hayasa was located on the shore of Lake Van. And again, I keep mentioning this on every episode. Everything takes place. Something about Lake Van is so important.
It's a pretty big body of water.
But, it's something, some force, pulls everybody there for some reason. From all this, we know that in the 13th century BC, Hayasa was an independent state and was neither a subject to the Hittite Empire nor the Assyrian Empire. The division of the Hittite Empire into several states at the beginning of the 12th century BC had to result in creating more favorable conditions for Hayasa. Assyria also faced a political fall at the time. Thus, there was no serious external factor that could result in the fall of the Hayasa Azzi. So I guess when, the Hittite Empire kind of fell apart and you had Assyria dealing with their own political fall and this and that, that's when the Kingdom of Hayasa was pretty much at its prime, I guess you can call it, with power and everything that was happening within.
But it's interesting, always running into, and it's not just us, I say lightly, as in like our people, of all the internal issues. And I'm sure it's not like every culture, every kingdom or whatnot or civilization didn't have internal issues, but it seems like everything we come across, everyone deals with some sort of, who knows, two brothers trying to vie for the throne or whatever the case is. Every single thing we've talked about has always dealt with some sort of internal issue that's led to their downfall in some essence, right?
Yeah. Well, the Hayasian town of Aripsa, which was mentioned in the campaign made during the 10th year of Murasili's reign, was described as the town in the sea. It was not situated on the coast of the Black Sea because in that case, the Hittites would have to pass through the eastern Pontic Mountains. Therefore, we conclude that the state of Hayasa included the main territorial western part of the Armenian highland from the Euphrates, and this is according to the Hittite sources, which is Mala River to Lake Van.
Mm-hmm.
However, our existing ideas of the territory of Hayasa are drawn from Hittite sources, details of which apply to those areas of the Armenian highland which the Hittites were able to attack on numerous occasions. Therefore, the spread of Hayasa influence to the east through the valley of the river Arax is not excluded either. Hence, Hayasa stretched at least from the upper Euphrates Valley to the basin of Lake Van. That is a big area.
Yeah, it's a pretty large area. And like we talked about earlier in the episode, it didn't matter where they were from, Mitanni, Hayasa, or whatever the province was called, they were Armenians of some sort, or whatever the case is, and their influence obviously dominated.
But I don't think saying Armenian of some sort is the right thing. There are Armenians with different dialect, different maybe...
Sure. But again, it's just the influence was that entire region, right? Along what we've known as...
pretty much Armenians there.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
So can we loosely say it, or can we tightly say it, or firmly say it that like we basically may have been occupying the lands between the two rivers from the beginning of known history?
And I am pretty sure that was the case, but you have to remember something. Why is it that, every major, when you talk about this era, it's about Mesopotamia and, the cradle of civilization and all this stuff. And all this articles and everything that was written was more in recent history, right? And I say recent, let's go back 200 years, 300 years. All this stuff started happening once the Turkic tribes took over the area. And it has been their goal to basically erase anything that has to do with Armenians, that it was their land, they were originally there. And this I'm talking about, this started like 300, 400 years ago to basically do everything possible to eliminate. And they even falsified things that were Armenian to their own. And that is one of the reasons why all you hear about is Mesopotamia.
But here's my thing is, as you just said, Mesopotamia was a name given. It translates the land between two rivers. Yes. So were the people that...
But did they mention Armenians?
No. Wait. I'm getting to the point. Were they called Mesopotamians? That's the way the textbooks refer to the people as. But the term means the land between two rivers.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is...
Okay. So the people that occupied those lands.
Okay, I don't know. Were they called Mesopotamians?
That's the way you refer to them as whenever you read textbooks. I remember in school, like the Mesopotamians, blah 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 blah. Right? That's just the way you refer.
Okay.
But who were the Mesopotamians? Who were those people? Here is the proof.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of it was Hittites, Armenians, Assyrians. Excuse me. Yeah, you're right. We were a part of it. So it's all of these people collectively were Mesopotamians.
But again, that comes to my point where that the word Armenian, Hayasa, Hayasian, whatever you want to call it back then, they were purposely removed from that area.
They were generalized.
Yeah, generalized and to basically remove it from history, so it's never talked about. And that's how... And you know what it is? It's almost it's an investment to the future. Like they kind of foresaw what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And now if you go and argue, right? If you go and argue, talking about, hey, these are our lands, these are our ancestral lands. They do the same thing with Artsakh, making up stories they've been there, this, that.
Well,
so
I mean, think about it. If some human being or let's say an alien landed on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. Stupid example, but whatever. Just go with it. Let's say an alien landed on Earth and learned about America. What is America? Who are we comprised of?
Yeah.
Where did these people come from? What's an American?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. You're just generalizing.
Yeah.
We're made up of thousands of different people.
Yeah.
What's an American? What's really an American? You know,
Good point.
It's the same thing.
Good point.
Yeah. Right?
Well, all right. So I know we got a little bit sidetracked, so let's continue.
Yeah. Now let's keep going. Hayasasi was at the time, during the 14th and 13th centuries BC, a powerful state in the Armenian Highlands. Kings of Hayasa, Karani, Ania, Hukana, had a difficult relationship with the kings of Hatti. There's that conflict.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was a hostile relationship. Can't imagine anything different. But there was also periods of peace. Judging from the correspondence between Hatti and Hayasa, it was worth mentioning that there should have been scribes in the Hayassian court who conducted state correspondences. The people of Hayasa is mentioned as one of the parties in the Hukana's treaty. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if there's any information about Hukana's treaty.
I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
Really, I'm not just for my part. I want to find out about this treaty.
It's interesting because, you know, if it mentions the people of Hayasa, like it says, I'd be curious to see what it mentions about them and how much further it goes, if there's any information about that. Anyway, this may mean that the power of Hayassian king was limited by either a people's assembly or a council of elders. One of the foundations of the state of Hayasa was the army, at least for that period.
Yeah.
10,000 infantrymen, 700 chariots was a considerable force, as we've mentioned before.
So was it always 700? There was no 701 or
I don't know.
699?
I don't know. Maybe they wanted exactly 700.
Yeah.
But if they wanted exactly 700, why did they want exactly 700?
I don't know.
See, these are the questions.
They ran out of material.
These are the questions that really, really boggle my mind sometimes. Yeah. Since the Hayassians could field chariots in their battles against the Hittite cities in the upper land, it meant that their settlements were not located only on high and rugged terrain, but on wide valleys and plains as well. A skillful and brave warriors, the Hayassians also served in the Hittite army. They were multidimensional.
Yeah.
In Hayasa, there were priests who conducted the cult of the Hayassian gods. The pantheon of Hayasa was presented in one Hittite inscription, which was probably part of the treaty between the Hittite and the Hayassian kings. 14 cult centers and deities were mentioned in the treaty. According to that list, we can conclude that there were temples in those 14 settlements. Why 14? Interesting. It is noteworthy that the Hittites worshipped not only their gods, but others as well, especially the gods of neighboring states.
Isn't that interesting?
I knew you were going to touch on that because I found that very interesting too. We've talked about this so many times with all the different influences of worship of different gods of the peoples in and around
of the
area.
Hittites, Assyrians, like worshiping gods that we worship.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if there were spin-offs. Again, this is a whole different topic. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but you know, it's really interesting how some of their deities may have come about over the centuries back then, right?
Yeah.
Among them, they also venerated the gods of Hayasasi. Thus, martial Kaska tribes would be inevitable.
Let me mention something. Venerated, some people might not know. That means worship.
Yes.
So
yes.
Just wanted to clarify.
I am impressed by your vernacular, sir.
Thank you.
During that campaign, Mursili moved across the territory of Upper Armenia and passing through Turuberan, reached the shore of Lake Van, where Aripsa was situated.
No, Turuberan. I mean, it's interesting, huh?
Turuberan. I'm going to cease from saying anything further about that.
Well, they had to go through Turuberan to get to Aripsa. So
I'm sure that was just a coincidence.
All right.
We know from the medieval Armenian sources that the People's Assembly was called Ashkhara Zhorov.
Yeah. Well, see, Ashkhara Zhorov, if you translate it, Ashkhar means world, right?
It sounds like the EU or the UN.
I think that's where I was going to go to. So Ashkhar in Armenian means world. Zhorov means meeting. So meeting of the world, or worlds. So it was more of the United Nations, I guess you can call it. So that's pretty interesting.
I'm not a fan of the United Nations, but let's hope they were nicer than
nobody is.
Yeah.
So, he continues on writing, Hittite text tells us about the worship of Azzi, storm god, Hayasa, storm god, and the god of Ugur in Hatti. Hittite sources give information about more than 20 Hayasian towns or settlements, and I'm going to go through them, so bear with me.
Here we go.
Arhita, Aripsa, Arinya, Azzi, Dugama, Gazu, Gasmiyaha, Halimanana, Harasalasa, Hayasa, Kam, Lahirihila, Lita, Pahuteya, Paraya, Pateo, Tavatena, Tamata, Tahnisara, Ura, Utkunisa, and Katmusa.
Wow.
Was that in one breath?
You deserve a medal for that, dude. You seriously deserve a medal for that.
I mean,
I think you might have summoned some gods.
Yeah, I know. I feel like
from like some portal.
Like this weird storm is about to brew on top of us. But some of them are beautiful. But think about the enunciations of this. Like Harasalasa. Like what inspired them to name the city Harasalasa?
I'm sure.
Dugama. What did Dugama? Usually when they name someplace, it has to.
These all mean something.
Yeah, it means something.
They all definitely mean something. They're named after maybe people that were prominent of the time or some word. I mean, these words all mean something.
Of course.
They really do. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but it just...
No. We're not making fun of them, but it's right. These are our ancient city names, so I definitely... I wish there was enough time for us to find out what they meant, but unfortunately there's only 24 hours in the day and we tend to sleep 6 of them. At least
those are a lot of letters.
Yeah. So continuing on, thus the town of Hayasa mentioned in the Hittite sources testify to the existence of urban life in the country. At the same time, in one part of the Hukanas Treaty, the Hittite king threatens to destroy all of the houses, fields, vineyards, cattle of the people of Hayasa if they break the treaty. So this basically means, we can conclude that the Hayasians were farming, breeding cattle, and developing agriculture. The Hayasian army had, chariots, we mentioned that, indicating that the highly developed horse breeding Hayasa.
Now, you see, just the domestication of animals already shows you the organization of a civilization.
Of course.
Right? And we're talking about what, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, maybe more.
According to, Dr. Vahan Setyan, this stuff goes even way back.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Yes. But you have to understand that like actual written history or the known world or the known history, whatever you want to coin the term as, is these people of that time era or in that region they had a developed system.
Yeah.
This wasn't like someday, like some guy woke up one day and said, hey, we should domesticate cattle. This was something that was obviously passed along. There's no way this just happened to happen.
Yeah. I did that once. Didn't work out.
What? Just
woke up and said I should
domesticate cattle?
Yeah.
How did that
Nope.
Please
First I couldn't find the cattle.
Please tell me more. We should have an episode on how you tried to domesticate cattle.
What? It's the cognac.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had to throw in a joke in there, man. We can't be serious all the time.
I'm just saying. Teach me. I would be willing to have you teach me how to.
My dream as a kid.
Attempt at domesticating cattle.
My dream.
The way the world's headed.
I always wanted to live on a farm and deal with the whole farming and everything. But you never know. Maybe one day.
We're headed that way.
Yeah. So moving on, the late Bronze Age period, second half of the second millennium BC of the Armenian Highland was one of the cultural advanced stages of the history of ancient Armenia. Archaeological materials of this period have been found in the territory of Upper Armenia. Turuberan and Taik can be attributed to the time of the Kingdom of Hayasa. At this time, agriculture and animal breeding rapidly developed. Various types of crafts thrived, creating new forms of ceramics and in arms production, axes, daggers, and so on. Armenia in this period strengthened ties with countries of the Near East, especially northern Mesopotamia, Asia Minor, Syria, and Palestine. This was the heyday of the Lakasha and Metz-Amor culture, which also spread to the western territory of the Armenian highland.
We talked about Metz-Amor pretty in depth.
Yeah, but we need to do a special, just like,
if there's enough information. I mean, we found we found enough to talk about it that one episode. Was it 2 episodes ago? Yeah. But that is a very, very important topic.
Yeah. In the late Bronze Age, Hayasa was a powerful state of the Armenian highland. It could fight against the Hatti, one of the great powers of Western Asia. In the political, cultural, and economic spheres, there were significant interrelations between the Hittite Empire and the Kingdom of Hayasa Azzi. The Kingdom of Hayasa, due to its independent political power, economic resources, and cultural values, and as an integral part of the Armenian statehood, contributed greatly to the history of Armenia.
I mean, it's a very, very, very important topic concerning our heritage.
Yeah, to the current day. I mean, everything they did from their, like the mentions talking about, politics and, the agriculture, everything,
and at the present time, there are a number of archaeological sites in that region. Sos, Karaz, Baluj, etc. The archaeological excavations in the territory of Upper Armenia and adjacent regions throw a new light upon the history and cultural aspects of Hayasa, its political and economic relations as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be discovered with anything they've unearthed in the last, 150 years, I'd say. I mean, from our understanding.
When you're talking about the Upper Armenia, it's mostly western upper part of Armenia right now. Yeah. So imagine if we still had Kars.
Look, I was going to bring up Metz-Amor as an example. It's still within Armenia's boundaries, but it's further north from Yerevan.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look at some of the regions in and around Eastern Turkey, of course, these were our lands, Eastern Turkey, Western Armenia, or Northwestern Armenia, and then you look at the areas that are now known as Northern Iraq, Northern Syria, and Nakhichevan specifically, because it's a pretty big chunk of land Nakhichevan is.
Yeah.
Right? Looks like this is where everything took place.
Yeah.
Looks like really this is where everything took place. And of course, Eastern Turkey, I don't want to exclude that because this is where Van is.
Yeah.
This was literally the cradle of our heritage. Every time we talk about this, every time we talk about any kingdom, anything, it all
falls into
exploded from that area.
Yeah. And it seems like I said, from Lake Van, that was the epicenter.
The epicenter,
and
just absolutely.
Like everything either went west, east, up, and north, south, so all directions.
Up, down,
up, down.
When you look at
up, down, right, left,
up, down, left, right. Oh, the United States is left of here.
Yeah. So, and hopefully, God willing, one day we'll have the ability to be on our lands again. That's I think that's every Armenian's dream to somewhat be able to get to go back and experience that. And
listen,
one of my dreams has always been, if we ever get to have our lands back, especially Western Armenia, me, like I told you, my ancestors are from Antip, which is Cilicia, so much. And I have this vision of building this really kind of like I don't want to say cabin, but like with more of those, the Armenian feel, the stones and the wood and everything, and imagine being by Lake Van and just retire there.
Something I wanted to touch on, and this is something that's been reoccurring with a lot of the research that we've been doing, is a lot of this information comes from inscriptions on granite stone, right? Natural stone that's found in the region, right? A lot of the cuneiform has been deciphered and translated and whatnot. And there's thousands of these. Thousands. None of them, I mean, a lot of them are still standing to this day. If that's not further proof that we were the occupiers, the original occupiers of this land, according to what has been found, go ahead and argue with me.
Yeah.
Or anybody, if you know about this. And that's the fascinating thing. And I'm going to touch on Mesopotamia again, is who were the Mesopotamians? Ask yourself that question. We just know them as Mesopotamia or Mesopotamians. So who were they?
Yeah. So generalized, right?
Here you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into this, and you'll start understanding, ladies and gentlemen, that like we were a part of what is known or generalized as or coined as Mesopotamia.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but
but we were not mentioned.
We have a lot more coming, and you know, like this, our goal is to find the right information, and you know, we talk about this all the time, that sometimes we might have to take a week off because the research that we're doing and the help that we're getting to present this the right way.
Yeah,
with all the writings.
7 days isn't enough.
I know, man. It's 24 hours isn't enough. Like I said, I wish there was like extra, at least 12 hours in the day.
I'd like to petition the suns to stay up longer. You want to join me? Does anyone want to join me on this venture?
Should we mention those city names? Maybe.
I dare you to read that over again.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We're more than an hour.
I'm gonna make you read that over. I'm gonna make you read those names over again one day over a bottle of cognac after like about 5 glasses.
All right. Okay. 5 glasses, man. That's too much.
I double dog dare you.
Well, that is pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from what we read and talked about.
There was a lot of complicated names, but you know,
yeah.
Look, if you guys try and look into some of these things, you're gonna find very little information on them, like your specific names. So it's just a broad.
Look up this stuff. First, I want to again thank Robert Ghazaryan for all the work he does, and thank you again to Gevorg for helping us out. You are a special friend to us and a person. You're just amazing.
You're just a special human being.
Yeah, and I love our conversations and everything that you help us with. And again, to Susanna Charagian, who translated the articles. There's, and if you guys want to search Robert Ghazaryan, you can find a lot of writings from him. Most of them are in Armenian, so either you can get them translated. If you read Armenian, then great. So I also, again, do a couple of mentions about our stuff. Again, the sculpture for Vartan is in full production. We are getting the first batch next week, that will start shipping for all the pre-orders that from the beginning. One thing I want to mention is that like I said, we do donate $30 from all the sculptures to the miasin.org, and we are going to be doing the payout in mid-December. So please go ahead and purchase it. This is for a good cause. We, all the profits that we get, we put it back into what we're doing. This isn't about just making money. We don't care. We have our lives and careers and businesses. We're fine. So this is a special project for many things. We did that whole thing with the animation with the Bobok Studios, and that
which is still ongoing.
Yeah.
That's more like, I guess we could call it a partnership because it's still in development.
Yeah, it's still in development. Well, I think they kind of started already.
No. We hit the goal. We hit the goal.
No. I'm talking about the school.
Oh, yeah. No. The school started. Yeah. But in terms of like what we're doing and what we want to do with them in the future, and our main goal into bringing outside market, prominent market work and have it outsourced to Armenia is the ultimate goal.
One thing I want to mention, yes, Vartan is in marble. It is casted in marble.
Yes.
And all of our sculptures will be in marble from now on. Now, to everybody who, we sold out of the Tigdans. Those were not in marble. Those were actually casted with hard resin. But, for us, it doesn't matter. Like I said, this isn't about money. So we have commissioned for the manufacturing of Tigran, the great sculptures that will be in marble.
Yes.
And we're going to start taking pre-orders for those. Now, to everybody who has ordered and received their Tigran sculpture, you will be receiving another sculpture from us that will be in marble, and it will be free of charge. That's who we are. That's how we are.
Yeah.
It's about satisfying our customers. This is a trial and error project with us. And, the vision we had, we finally were able to make it happen. So to everybody who has supported us from day one, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we will take care of you, basically.
And I just really have to mention, I got to hold, obviously, the statue, the Vartan statue, which is marble. It's marble.
Yeah.
I can't say it enough. This is literally what I've said a million times over the last week. It's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's, I know I'm the one that created it, but it's, even holding it myself is pretty special.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I've shown it to a couple friends of mine who are not Armenian, by the way, and they immediately placed an order.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't a sales pitch. This is not a sales pitch. It's just that awesome, guys. I'm not kidding you. It came out unbelievable.
Go ahead, go to merherosner.com and place your order. Pre-order the Ashrens. We've been getting a lot of Ashren orders. Ashren has been, it's in the stage of molding and should be going to production. Same thing with Tigran, with obviously the marble version. What we're trying to do is we want to do our best, no promises, but to be able to possibly have these pre-orders for these Ashren and Tigran possibly sometime in the holidays.
We're pushing for the holidays.
Yeah.
We are pushing for the holidays, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It all depends on a few things, because there's the supply shortage at the moment.
Yeah. So again, that's merherosner.com. Go ahead and place your order. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/merherosner and become a Patreon and assist the show with, it starts there's $5, $10 a month, $25. Just, support it basically. Follow us on Instagram, which is at merherosner. Same thing with Facebook, and then YouTube. Again, I can't mention this enough. If you want to see our live shows, you got to go to YouTube, search for Mer Herosner podcast, and subscribe and hit that notification. We've been getting some great comments on our audio spectrum. So anything else you want to mention, Mike?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it. Make sure you give us a review on the podcasts. It helps with the rating, and we're close to 5,000 subscribers. It's growing and growing, and the feedback is amazing. So,
thank you to everybody.
Yeah,
really,
thank you.
It's humbling. It really is.
So, as we always say, love one another, respect one another, and then till the next episode, take care of yourselves.